I traveled the banks of the river of Jordan to find where it flows to the sea. I looked in the eyes of the cold and the hungry, and I saw I was looking at me.
I wanted to know if life had a purpose and what it all means in the end.
In the silence I listened to voices inside me, and they told me again and again.
There is only one river, there is only one sea, and it flows through you, and it flows through me. There is only one people, we are one and the same. We are all one spirit, we are all one name. We are the Father, Mother, daughter, and Son. From the dawn of creation, we are one. We are one. We are one. Every blade of grass on the mountain,
Every drop in the sea,
oh, every cry of a newborn baby,
every prayer to be free.
Every hope at the end of the rainbow, every song ever sung
is a part of the family of woman and man. That means everyone. We are only one river, we are only one sea, and it flows through you, and it flows through me. We are only one people, we are one and the same. We are all one spirit, we are all one name. We are the Father, Mother, daughter, and Son. But from the dawn of creation, we are one. We are one. We are one. We are one.
Hi, welcome to the Loving Widow. My name is Reverend Lynn. This is show 765, and it's about no self. So, as always, hope you enjoy the show. Check us out on YouTube under Len Leonardson, Lenardson, or the Loving Light Hour. We get posted some videos there, and we got on a blog on lovinglight.org. There's a blog there, and my wife has got a blog going, and also there's some podcasts. So you want to listen to the show instead of watch it, then you can do that. So yeah, and being a number of emails and phone calls from people, I do answer the phone. So go ahead and give me a call if you want to say something about the show, or if you got a question, you have something that you want to talk about, or you'd like me to talk about. Yeah, give me a call. I'm open to suggestions. We've been doing this for about 15 years. I can't even count anymore, but 765 shows, something like that. And it's been an honor to come into your homes, and I'm always surprised at the people I meet out in town and stuff like that to come up and say hello. It's rewarding to be told that people watch the show and you watch the show. So feel free. It won't be an intrusion. Feel free to say something or mention. If there's something you don't like about the show, let me. That's okay. Just be nice. Don't be attacking. Just let me know. Open for discussions here. So anyway, Yeah, we're open for counseling, weddings, do weddings also, and any kind of spiritual counseling, marriage counseling you'd like. You need some help with your relationship. We've been in a relationship for 34 years, actually 38 to be exact. Um, and it's been a work in progress, and it's not one of the easiest things in the world to deal with, but I have a lot of insights on it, and it's definitely been my spiritual path. My marriage has been my spiritual path, and meditation and Buddhist meditation and all of my other religious upbringing have been kind of preparation for the actual path, which is life. And in that life, I found that marriage has been a really important way of demonstrating mastery or the lack of mastery of the spiritual steps that one has to take. We have to work through our lower programming, survival and pleasure, pain, and control, and make that leap of faith into the heart center, where we start to learn love. And one of the places that you can learn love and practice love on a daily basis, 24/7, is in marriage. You can also do it any other place in your life too, but marriage kind of holds you to the, kind of keeps you focused. You have another person there that, and then if you have some children, then you kind of up the grade. And as any of you know who are married or in a serious relationship and have children, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then you don't know. But that doesn't mean that serious spiritual practices are bad to you. It's just I found for my own type, my own temperament and stuff like that, that I too easily fooled myself that I was someplace where I wasn't. And my wife Lynn has always been right there to bring me down to earth, so to speak. And that's good, because there's no sense going on. There's no sense being something or pretending to be something or acting as if you were something when you have these other things in there, that these other feelings or other thoughts, ideas, beliefs mostly, that are holding you back from being your authentic self, from being the truth of who you are and what you are. So yeah, I found that marriage has been a really important thing. So if you need any help with that and counseling, we have some great insights to that, and some roadmaps that will help you to get through those places where you want to give up. And the person across the table from you not only isn't your worst enemy, it's you want them to die some horrible death. And yeah, and the message here is it'll pass. It'll pass. Just stay with it. Stay with it. You know, commit to love. If you can't commit to the other person, commit to love. And find a way to love. And we have to find a way to love. And that's what our goal is, to find a way to love. Sometimes you have to acknowledge the fact that you aren't in love. And then you have to say why, and why not? Why aren't you in love? Oh, because of this and because of that. Okay. So is that where you want to live it? Is that it? They said this, they said that, so it's over, it's done. How does that demonstrate your commitment to acceptance, tolerance, love, whatever, and not throw away the authenticity, and not throw away yourself? I mean, it doesn't mean that somebody can behave horribly, consistently, with no remorse, with no idea or intention to grow themselves, and that you have to continue to accept that person and put yourself in that situation of it's okay for them to be abusive, or it's okay for them to be a certain way without some sort of atonement, some sort of remorse, some sort of a commitment to change that behavior, because it's all behavior. If you love me, then your behavior has to demonstrate that. And so so it's tricky, slippery, razor's edge type stuff. The spiritual path, marriage, life itself, and is that it's not about winning all the time. It's about just keep going. Just it'll pass. This too shall pass. This will pass. And asking for help, asking God, asking for love to come through you, asking to be a vehicle of love. Say the St. Francis of Assisi prayer. It really wasn't his prayer, but we call it his prayer. St. Francis of Assisi, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me so love. That's it. Where there is hatred, let me so love. Quite a challenge. Quite a challenge. Where there's hatred, where you're being hatred, you give love back. Wow. Not easy. Not easy. And we have to work at where you're being loved to give love back. That's what most of us are. We're just we can't accept love, and so we can't even give love back. And we got to be there and work at working that love muscle, that heart muscle. And then from there we move on in our spiritual path, which marriage will take you into the higher realms of consciousness, the ones of realizing abundance and the connectivity of all life, and then realizing the noself, realizing the oneness. It demonstrates what we're talking about tonight. It demonstrates. It's a way of practicing the no-self. When you fall in love, when you are in love, then the I, the little I, disappears and becomes the big I. And the big I is that consciousness that we all are. It's the big I is that what we call God. Is we're one consciousness. We're one entity. We're one being. We're one universe. We're one with all of this stuff. And these words are, they're words that are just kind of give us the idea of something that we're not experiencing, and so we work at experiencing this, and we prepare ourselves for this experience by practicing giving, which is getting out of the self. In the Buddhist teachings, the way I learned from Mr. Goenka was that we learned we were working on the three deep realizations, aside from many other things, but the three focus things were anicca, anatta, and dukkha, which is anicca is that life is a state of flux, change. Everything is change. The unchanging is change. And the anatta is no self. That there is no self. What we have is made up. We've made it up. We've created self. And the other one is dukkha, which is an inevitable part of life, is suffering. Inevitably, we will experience the suffering of life. And of course, then the whole Buddhist path is, in the whole Buddhist system, very systematic system, is how to become free of the Eightfold Noble Path is how to become free of suffering. Very systematic, very intellectual, yet using the intellect to bring us into our hearts and to focus on our hearts. That's what the I Ching too. The I Ching does the same thing. It uses the intellect. When you cast the I Ching, it uses your intellect. It has three different two different systems where the judgment is the intellect or the description of the state of consciousness or the state of the energies of where you are, and then the image is more of the emotional reaction. So it's always using our intellect because that's what we have. That's our most strongest point is our intellect, and using our intellect to guide us into our feelings and to try to understand our feelings and um, to work on our feelings. It's to work on understanding, to work on getting in touch with, to experiencing, to bringing our feelings to consciousness, to the surface, so that we can express them as such, that they're just feelings. In the same way, in our Vipassana meditation, which is what Lynn and I practice, and we do many different versions of it. One of the ones where we do the most of it is meditation in action. We've kind of made the marriage meditation, which is practicing mindfulness and awareness in the relationship. And in understanding our thoughts, then we look at our thoughts also, and we see that our thoughts are just thoughts. They're just thoughts. Our feelings are just feelings. We make them ours by what we call identifying with them. We identify with them. So there are many ways to describe this, but you can feel it. It's something where you put your soul energy behind it, where you put your soul power behind it. If you have a belief and you put your soul energy behind it, then it's a fervent belief. Then it's a belief that you will kill for, or a belief that you'll stand up for and fight for. If you have a thought that you deeply are involved in and identified with, then you tend to be more reactive to that thought. And so if like you have the thought of all men are equal, and you believe that, and you fight for that. That's something, that's an identification. You identify with being an image to an American or a Hawaiian. And then a whole bunch of beliefs and a whole bunch of thoughts and a whole bunch of feelings that are wrapped up and programmed into that is something where you take on. And so as we look at our life and as we go into our life, we understand that these thoughts and these feelings that we call ours, that we say, oh, that's who we are their thoughts and feelings. We've made them ours, and we have the choice then to make them ours. If I have the thought that I'm unhappy, then I start going around making up ideas and proving to myself why I'm unhappy. There's some sort of a need to be unhappy. In meditation and stuff, we look at the root of that and try to find out, well, what is the need to be unhappy? It's not a natural thing to want to be unhappy. Why are you unhappy? And when did you decide you needed to be unhappy? When did you decide you didn't deserve to be happy? And why are you deciding? You say, well, because I'm sick and I have cancer. And so being unhappy about that is very complicated then, because you feel very right and very justified. And everybody around you will support you and say, yeah, it's a bad thing. You're having that disease and you're having that cancer. You should be unhappy. Yet the directive is to be happy, to love. How do you love cancer? Well, I don't want to pontificate, since I don't have that. I might not be able to do it. Let me assure you, I'm not saying that possessing any sort of horrible pain, pain that one has to endure moment to moment, day to day, is anything other than a major test, or a major obstacle that one would have to overcome. And each of us has it within them to overcome this. It's just it's a matter of how do you do it. In meditation, we learn to dissect, disintegrate it, make it separate it, go into it, look at the components of it, of the pain. Look at the components of what is cancer. What is this pain? What is this depression? Where's the source of it? What's the genesis of it? And what kind of sensations does it produce? It's sharp pain, it's cold, it's dull pain, it's hot, it's cold, it's empty. It's yeah. I know when I had my had a couple of heart attacks over the course of the year or two that I was kind of enduring that. It was a perfect object of meditation. It brought me to what was valuable in my life and what I was secretly holding valuable, and what was the purpose of life. And so everything we have we can use for our enlightenment. And enlightenment is to enlighten you, to lighten this load that you're carrying, and this idea of self is the load. You're carrying a load. That we're carrying the load of me. You see, when you get into I consciousness, the I that I am, that when we use that pronoun I and we have that capital I, it's interesting. It's always capitalized because it's God. I is God. You know, it's also interesting that it's a capital I is it's a horizontal line and a vertical line, and the bottom is a horizontal line, which is the three, and the positive, the negative, and the neutral. So it's that three in that one symbol, that I symbol, and I think maybe perhaps Jesus was talking about that, and all of your great teachers when they say, you know, nobody goes through the Father but through I, and they say, yeah. There's no way to experience consciousness but to understand that we are all one, but that we are I. When I say I, I'm talking about God. I am God. We are God, and we are one. It wipes out all of this stuff. It wipes out all of the sickness, disease, wars. It wipes out everything when we identify. When we identify with the I, with oneness, when we practice breaking down our prejudices and breaking down our beliefs, and it doesn't mean you can't have beliefs, and it doesn't mean you can't get identified. But in fact, that's what's going to happen. You know, that's what happens. There's nothing you can do about it. You get identified. You have these beliefs. You know, you become, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Libertarian, I'm a Hawaiian, I'm from Boston. You know, I used to have this big thing, this big pride thing that I was from Boston. You know, and it was just something to identify. I mean, we're gay, we're straight, we're bisexual. I mean, we have all of these different things that we identify with, and some of them are necessary for our stages of life, for the stages of growth, or where we're at. You know, it's too often we try to be. We see somebody that's maybe perhaps ascended into a higher state of consciousness, meaning to say they're not as reactive as everybody else around them. If we're in the body, you don't get out of the suffering. Or you don't get out of the pain, as they say. The pain is inevitable. The suffering is optional. But because the suffering is the greater part of the suffering is the mind, and what we do with pain, and what we do with loss, and what we do with desire and aversion, wanting something and having something and not getting it. It's all the ability to accept what is and to let go of that which we cannot control. And these are big lessons, and these are the lessons that we learn. Well, marriage, of course, is and I keep coming back to it because I've spent many hours meditating, many months, many weeks, many months meditating, and You got the levels of sensitivity and understanding, but but it's just it goes into that higher self. We all kind of have. Well, even in the Hawaiian, in the Huna thing, we have the three selves: the lower, the middle, and the higher self. And we also could get that we have then you have the id and the ego and the superego, and so you can see a lot of breakdowns into threes. But we have the super consciousness or the higher self, and it's got it. Yeah, that part of you knows all this stuff. It's been doing it forever, countless lifetimes is what the Buddha said. So they say countless lifetimes. That's countless. That means it's more than the national debt. Countless lifetimes that we've been coming in here. So there is an aspect of ours that understands all of this stuff. The problem is there's an aspect of us, we call it personalities or programming, that doesn't get it, just does not get it, is completely immersed in this sense of self and this, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm and I'll fight and I'll kill for it and I'll die for it and all this stuff. And it doesn't really get this idea of spirituality or that we are all one in spirits. It doesn't. It's clueless to it, and so this is the part. This is what we have to do. What we call our excavation is going in and finding these places in us, these what we call asleep places that are just, they just don't get it. They just and give them acceptance, tolerance, and growth. In other words, that's called working on yourself. And you can see that there's a lot of self-creating here to help us to get to know self. And that's part of the path. You get identified. It's just what you get identified with. When you get identified with the spiritual path, when you get committed to the spiritual path, when you get committed to letting go of the material plane, and before you actually do let go of the material plane, which is the big awakening, is that, hello, you weren't going to stay, you keep forgetting that every moment of every day, that you're not here for long, and you are a spirit. That's why, because the body stays, you go. And that's a big realization. That's a big realization about death, is that you just don't stay here. Whatever here is, you're not here anymore. You don't know where you are, but you're real sure, if you've come close to it, if you think about it, you're real sure that you're not going to be in this room where you are anymore. This room is not going to be appearing for you. Something else will be appearing, and you'll be moving into another life, another something, another realm, another anything, but within every fiber of your body, you're not going to be here anymore. And that's that helps us to understand that which is eternal is eternal. It keeps going. It doesn't. It shifts. It shifts gears. It shifts our vision, and it shifts what we feel, what we see. We're living in the duality here of opposites, and we're living in this material plane. And when we die, we shift. We're no longer in the material plane, so we're no longer in opposites. We're in the eternal, and I don't know what happens or how we get caught back in there. There's the theories are abound. You can each religion has volumes and volumes of everything on it, and none of that actually matters. But the moment-to-moment experience of I'm shifting now, I'm going, I'm leaving, and being conscious of it and letting go. And at that time, if you practice your whole life about letting go, in other words, what happens is you get attachment, all kinds of attachments, and you're attached mostly, and most importantly, you're attached to itself. the image of the self. We are very selfish, very selfish. That's another thing where marriage comes in. It teaches you, and having children, and so it teaches you about selflessness. It's all teaching us about this no self. And we find that giving is just like there's this animal that we identify with, this body, this mammal, this body, and it has appetites, and spiritually we know that if we balance those appetites, if we don't allow it too much pleasure and don't inflict too much pain on it. That's what the Buddha found out. He found after doing all the practices and doing all of with the other adepts, the other five beings, so to speak, as the story goes, he realized that all these very stringent practices of sitting still and not eating and stuff like that. Another word for those could be self-abuse. And what it was is just abusing the body, and that the body is a temple, is to be honored and to be taken care of. It's to be honored. It's to be honored. So it's to be taken care of. I've been thinking of the thing of that we wouldn't think of putting anything but gasoline, and we even understand, like, well, we know the hype, the high octane and stuff like that. Where most of us are finished with that, with the high octane bullshit about, how much you spend more for the same thing. But we wouldn't think about putting anything into our tanks but gasoline. I mean, so, well, I didn't know. I just decided that I'd put some, I put some Coca-Cola in there to try it out. I said, why'd you do that? Why did you ruin your automobile? We wouldn't think of doing that, because the automobile would immediately give us immediate thing, but our body doesn't do that. Our body absorbs the poisons and stuff like that. So we work out these things at these appetites, and we learn the lessons that too much indulgence creates suffering, creates pain, and it creates mental pain, it creates emotional pain, it creates weight. We get too much weight, we get sick. I mean, there's all kinds of things, and we correlate that. I mean, I don't know if you're there or if you've taken it for granted, but I know when we were just entering this realm, and we had a health food store and stuff that we were running, and we were educating people and talking to people about the fact that what you eat, it really affects you. I mean, there's been people kind of talking about this forever, and but it wasn't accepted, and especially in the medical system. It doesn't matter what you eat. Doesn't matter, It's like, what do you mean it doesn't matter what you eat? Of course it matters what you eat. So now foods, all the foods are good. The FDA has has said that they're fine. Don't worry about it. And now we know better. We know that that they wouldn't feed us bad stuff, would they? It depends how much money it makes. So we know that honoring our temple and honoring our body and taking care of the mammal, the animal part of us is part of the spiritual path. But it's not us. The body's not us. It's a vehicle. It's what we use. We're the watcher. We're the observer. That's why in the Vipassana meditation, it's such a cool meditation. I mean, it's just perfect. That's all. I've studied different meditations and stuff. It's just perfect. It's like, it's not about anything other than observation. You observe. You don't do anything. You observe. You're not practicing any kind of asanas, and all these are good. Yoga and all the breath things. Everything has beneficial. There's benefits to all of this stuff. I'm not saying not to do any of this, but when you get into the Vipassana, when you get into the simple observation, it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, if you're a Buddhist, or if you're a Muslim, if you're a Jew, if you're a Jain. It doesn't matter, because every place in every religion is the consciousness, the awareness, the awakeness is all the same. We want to be awake. Pay attention. Observe. What is this? What are these thoughts? These are thoughts. This is not me. Back to your object of meditation. In Vipassana, we use the breath, or we use the sensations in the body and is a state of being, a state of consciousness, a state of a sense of bringing in our body. And the breath brings you. If you follow the breath, it keeps you stationary in the body. I mean to say, if you go out into thoughts and stuff like that, we're kind of not in our body. Our body's running on autopilot while we're thinking about the future, or remembering the past, regretting the past, anticipation, regret, anticipation, regret, remembering, memories, future ideas, and stuff like that. And we're trying to get back into here and now, because in the here and now is where we experience God. You can't experience God in the future. You can't experience God in the past, because God is in the here and now, the eternal now. And this is where we keep working on the no self, because as we are self, as we keep identifying with this thing that's self, we keep we make that separation. We break the fundamental law that we're one. That's it. So if I'm one with you, just by me talking about the fact that there's an I and a me, it's like I'm discrediting exactly what I'm saying as I'm saying it. So as much as we can talk about it, we can't really experience it until we start to get through these shocks. And it's a shock to find out that you're not this, you're not that, and that you're more than this. You're more than just a woman. You're more than just a male. You're more than gay. You're more than straight. You're more than Chinese. You're more than African. You're more than that. You're more than a businessman. You're more than these are just labels that we're putting on side of ourselves. We're all the same consciousness, and that consciousness, as we're learning, as we're experiencing more and more, is all interconnected. And the more we make ourselves solid, the more I get identified with who I am or what I am, the more I put up that barrier to experience the empathy, the compassion, the oneness of all. And it's a big jump. It's a huge jump. I mean, I've always looked at that in the Buddhist thing. How do you do the no self thing? Yeah. The life is suffering. I can get that. That's a good one. I mean, I can see that. Life is pretty much, I mean, I know we want to walk around in our new age thing and say that, it's all good and everything that feels good, do it, But, if you'll notice the fact that you have to keep shifting your seat every now and then, and because what you're doing is you're alleviating suffering, so that the parts of your body that you're sitting on aren't in pain. You shift. You keep breathing, because you notice that if you don't keep breathing, you start to go into a lot of pain. You eat every day, because if you don't eat, you go into a lot of pain. This pain is the suffering is not only inevitable, it's pretty constant. We're pretty much dealing with it all day long. Oh, there are degrees of it, but it's right there. This unsatisfactory state that we exist in. I get that, and change. I think you can get, and not all of this is, of course, at different levels. We're talking about superficial levels of understanding, but change and suffering. I never really had much trouble with getting a little deeper, and using those to get deeper. You keep seeing how things change and how everything's a state of flux, and how, that's life. I mean, just pay any attention at all, you see how things change every day and all the time. And suffering, of course, is right there. But the no self, that's a little bit more complicated, because it's the self that's studying. It's the ego. It's it's that entity, that soul person, that oneness that is expressing itself through this medium, has created these ego personalities, these social, these serious aspirants personalities. So there's a lot of identification with it, and when you disidentify with it, it's like breaking up with it's like a divorce. it's like losing a friend, even though that friend was, or that marriage was not good, and that person was maybe doing you a lot of harm. It's still very painful, very suffering to separate yourself from this. And this is what no self is. It's like not so easy. Not so easy. I mean, we can walk around intellectually saying, oh yeah, there's no self, we're all one. Yes, but we don't believe that. We don't live that. This is not what we live. And so we move then into exercises and practicing of understanding that I have these thoughts, but these are not my thoughts. They're thoughts. You say, oh no. These are my thoughts. I thought this up. You say, and where did you make this thought up? I said, oh, it just came out of the universe. It came from God. Said, so they're God's thoughts. They're not your thoughts. No. These are my thoughts. These are my thoughts. I don't like these people. These are my beliefs. So are you sure? They're your beliefs. And have you checked it out? Have you really gone to the source of it? Why do you believe this? How are you so sure of this? Well, the Bible says so. Okay, we don't want to get into that. You believe it. You haven't researched it. Is everything in there true? I don't think so. But that's up to you to find out. And even the best scholars of the thing will say, take the Bible with a grain of salt. It's a good book. Don't get me wrong, but it has some. It was compiled by some people who were making some decisions, and hopefully God was guiding their hands as they canceled out Mary's gospel and Judas's gospel and all the other things that the Essenes were protecting. So we could get, no sense in getting into that. Go watch PBS. They do a better job than I could ever do. It just dawned on me that at some point in time in there, when I think I read The Laughing Jesus, which is an interesting one. It just dawned on me, not so much that, and zeitgeist, not so much that that this was kind of like a lot of the stuff is made up, a lot of the stuff is copied from before. It's more the fact of just studying the fact that, oh, I just believe this. I didn't really research. Who has time? Who has time to research how many Jews left Egypt? Who has time to research? There's probably only about a couple of hundred of them. I mean, how many do you think they were there in the Great Exodus? I mean, who has time to research? I mean, unless you're a scholar doing that, you just you just believe it. You just say, okay, and Jesus said that, and Jesus said this, and Mary did this, and Mary did that, and instead of saying, look, it's a story. Some of it's true, some of it's not true. Some of it's made up. Some of it's misrepresented. Some of it is, and the same with the Buddhist book. I'm not just singling out the Buddhist book. And Buddhist scholars will say, well, the Buddha didn't do the Diamond Sutra. The Diamond Sutra came about 500 years after the death of Buddha, so he couldn't have done it. So, and there's a number of things in there, and you can say, well, men make this stuff up, and they make it up with good intentions. Some not good intentions. The underlying contention intention is to control, to keep people, and maybe even the intention under that is for the good of mankind, for the good of people. But as we see that when you make things up and when you have beliefs that aren't founded on anything, you're on shaky ground, to say the least. It doesn't mean that that faith isn't necessary. Faith is necessary. I have faith in electricity. I have faith in all kinds of things. I have faith in the fact that I can get up and my leg will move out in front of me. And when you have your heart go, you find out that doesn't happen automatically. That's a blessing, that thing where your leg pops out there when you stumble and your leg juts out front to get down. That's not ordained. That isn't something that you get without health. If you don't have good health, if your heart doesn't work right, your leg doesn't go out in front of you, so you fall. And you don't want to fall too many times when you get old, because then you break things and you don't heal that quickly. So yeah, there's a lot of things we take for granted and that we believe, and we have our beliefs, and you can see that this is all, when we combine this with our sitting meditation, which is calming oneself, getting a quiet place and being aware of your breathing, being aware of your feelings, thoughts and feelings. And it's a very simplified way of talking about it, but this is what it is. We get into stillness. We're trying to practice the stillness so we can see what the mind is doing, and we can disassociate from it and not stop it. Just say, this is not me. This is thinking. I'm here. I'm breathing. I'm watching my breath. I'm observing myself. I'm having bare attention. I'm being attentive to everything around me, and I'm practicing consciousness. I'm being here and now. These are the practices that we do, and when we're in our relationships in our daily life, we see that we get in our fights with each other, and we get in our arguments, and we start to learn that how I'm identified with this idea of being right. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be married? You want to be in love, or do you want to be right? They don't really go together necessarily. These are, hard. They're very, very difficult lessons that we learn from day to day, moment to moment, and you only learn them as much as you're committed to do it. That's all. It's as simple as that. If you're really committed, if you really want to learn, I mean, if you really see yourself as you're the object of your meditation, you're the object of your study, that you're a great study, and you really want to just study yourself instead of getting the position of what you are. And if you really start off and say, I have no idea what I am or what I'm doing here, and when you go in with that open-minded and you say, I'm just going to watch every thought, I'm going to watch every action, I'm going to watch everything I say and understand what it means. Oh my God, you don't want to do that. You don't want to watch everything you say. I mean, no spontaneity. Well, this is where it gets complicated. I say, yeah, but sometimes you have to. There's no spontaneity because you're studying the thoughts. You're studying what you're saying and what's the intention behind what you're saying. And did you want to put all your soul force behind what you're saying, or did you want to just have that as something that as an idea? How do you present it? Well, I was thinking of this, and that we could do this, or I wanted to do that, and instead of saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You've already moved past the fact of negotiating. You're saying I'm going to do that. So then we move into, is that okay with you? Because when you're married, you make agreements. Is that okay with you? That's not asking permission. That's checking with your partner and say, this is open for discussion. I'm going to do this. How do you feel about it? So you don't have to be a wimp. You don't have to say, oh dear, could I please? I was wondering if it's okay. No, you have to be yourself. You have to come in and you have to be yourself. If you're not going to be yourself, then you can't understand that you're not yourself. Mumbo jumbo. It's all mumbo jumbo. It's all mumbo jumbo. In the end, that's all it is. It's all we're just talking. I'm just here talking. This is not God. This is God. We're here trying to learn this idea of no self. And it's like, I know in the meditation, the Buddhist thing, I know we always, and I don't think it was their intention, but it's always like, you just expect that there's this big enlightenment thing. You keep sitting and one day, bam, it all kinds of happens. It just all is very, very clear. Well, it's a devastating experience to enlightenment, to the ego, to who we are. So it's more often and much better. It's a gradual. It's a life. Don't be in such a hurry. Don't be in such a hurry. You get your whole life to work on this thing, and probably a zillion other lifetimes. Not to say that you shouldn't work now. Don't go there. Oh well, if I have a zillion other, no, because I think there's little criteria as to what you get to do in the next life, but it has to do with everything comes back to you. Whatever you do comes back to you, either in this life, the next life. And if you don't believe that's true, then so what? You should live it anyway, because it's a good way of living. You take responsibility for who you are and what you do, and understand the karmic thing isn't about punishment. It's about truth. It's about, if we're all one, then I'll be feeling everything I do to everybody else, because we're all one. And if I got it so that I block my feelings off, and I'm a sociopath, then I have it set up so that I don't get to feel it this lifetime. Well, the way it is that you get it next lifetime. You get to experience that. So we can move on. So you can let go of that. You can let go of that idea that you can do things and get away with it. There's nothing to get away with it. There's no place to go. There's nobody to hide it from. You are one. Everybody's one. Everybody knows everything at some place in some point in time, no matter what we do. And everything has to be addressed and dealt with, and has to be seen for what it is and let go of. It's the way it is. Always was that way. And you look at you can look and you see other people and you say, well, they're getting away with this and they're getting away with that. Maybe they are getting away with it. Maybe they're living this horrible life and this life of pleasure, and you're out there grinding away and you can't seem to do anything, get your job, and your focus is wrong. Your focus is wrong. What they're doing is having a life of pleasure. It's really hard to know yourself when you're in a life of pleasure. The pleasure is, and when you're really, really rich, not to say that you shouldn't have some money, by all means, but when money, it takes over. The pleasure takes over. The job takes over. Everything takes over. And you're always saying, how do you know yourself that you're not yourself if you become identified with yourself? If you're famous, really hard not to see that you're a self. There's no self when you're famous. You're really identified with that. You get a lot of energy for being famous. Get a lot of money, or you get a lot of bad energy, good energy, depending. But the solidification of the self is really strong when you're famous. So, the good news is you're famous. The bad news is you're famous. You get to be important in somebody else's eyes and stuff like that, but you're no less important in God's eyes. You're the same. We're all one. And there is no you. So what you've done is you just made it really, really complicated. Really more difficult to understand that. It's easier to put a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get to heaven. What Jesus said. He was talking about camels and eyes and stuff like that. He was saying that the forces, the power, the energies occupies your attention. It's important. It becomes, what is God in your life is what you're focused on as far as what you give your soul over to. If you're giving your soul over to oneness, to compassion, then that's God. If you're giving your soul over to making money, then that's God. Oh, you say, no. I'm just making a good living. I'm not paying. To the degree that you can separate that, to the degree that you can separate the money, the job, the who and what you are, from the understanding, from the thing that we are all one, that there is no me, is to the degree that you're worshiping something other than God. When you're worshiping God, there is no self. So you lose yourself in God. You lose yourself in oneness. So that means that compassion and understanding and depth and divine intelligence all come in. If not, then we're full. We're full of ideas, and we're full of feelings, and we're full of thoughts. So we're full. So what Jesus was saying, we have to empty our cups. So we have to empty our cups of self. And self is all the thoughts, all the feelings that we're identified with. And you can't just get rid of them. Don't try it. Don't bother. What you can do is study. You can observe. You can observe and say, oh, I'm really identified here. Oh, look at that. I'm a feminist. I'm really identified with it. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be a feminist. I didn't say it was. Just an observation. That's all. You're a feminist. You've made yourself a feminist now. You've made yourself gay. You've made yourself a heterosexual. You've made yourself that you're really identified with being a male. Well, I am a male, stupid. I know, you're a male. I'm not saying, but you're not. It's just a body. People change. They get gender changes. Then what are they? The spirit's still the same, just using a different vehicle in there. So you say, well, I mean, what? I'm going to walk around and not identify with it? I'm not saying not to do that. I'm saying that's your observation. I identify with being a male. Believe me, I'm identified with being a male much too often. But did you know they have a female side in there? You have the female and the male. I have my mother inside of me. When I identify with my mother, I'm very creative, I'm artistic, I cook well and stuff like that. When I'm identified with my father, I can't do any of those things. You know? So you see that if that's who I am, then what happened to the sensitive, artistic part of me? Oh, it's still there. It's just, they're just thoughts. They're just a storehouse of memories, a storehouse of beliefs, of ideas, of skills that I have. They're inside my brain. That when I click into that, I'm that. And then when they get, when the electromagnetic energy, when the batteries get worn down of that, I snap into the other part of personality. And this is how we learn. We say, wow, I'm kind of changing my mood swings. Yeah, you can call them moods, you can call them personalities, you can call them whatever you want, but there is no central you that you can hold on to, that you can identify with, because you change. Anicca, you're changing. And because of that change, dukkha, suffering, because we're trying to hold on to that, trying to say, no, this is who I am. This is me. I am this. And suffering, holding on to. Instead of saying, I'm like a river, I'm flowing. There is no one thing. What's the river? It's flowing water. And we're saying, but wait a minute. How do you tell that I'm changing? And I say, yeah, it's difficult. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. That's all. You pay attention. You say, oh, why do I dress like this? Oh, I just like it because I want to. Okay, well, that's the end of that. There's an opportunity for you to see that you dress that way because your brain is in a certain mode. Now you're in a certain personality, and you might be feminist one day, or you might be in a rebellious state. You're dressing with your emotions, and there is no you. There is no you dressing. There's just a impulse. There's just personalities. There's just something inside of you is putting something on. Something inside of you is identifying, a programming. It's all programming. We can look at it that way. We can say, we'll talk more about this. It's like an endless conversation because it's all and everything. Anicca, anatta, dukkha. Anatta. There is no self. What did the Buddha mean by that? How do we realize that supreme, I guess, I don't know. There's still a part of me that just wants to have this big awakening, enlightening, and thing, and say, oh, it's all perfect now. And it's like, I don't know, I'm almost 70 years old. I don't know if I'm going to particularly get that. But over the years, gradually, I've got to understand that that there isn't a central me. As much as I seem to be at times identified with one aspect of myself, as well as I try to hold on to that aspect of who I am, I change. And my good wife points that out to me all the time, which is my blessing. And I'm grateful for her for doing that. She's a dedicated yogi. She's a very, very dedicated yogi. And I'm grateful that she has come into my life, because otherwise I would be stuck in la la land thinking I was some sort of a guru teacher, instead of somebody that's out there just trying to let go of and know God. So aloha, and see you next week. We'll talk some more about the no self.